The tragedy of the crisis in Afghanistan is that it didn't need to happen. The so-called deal struck between Donald Trump and the Taliban can't be described as a diplomatic masterstroke. But the terms and conditions were not established, and the devil is always in the detail. Many accepted a gradual withdrawal would happen, but the execution and timing of that withdrawal is where the problem lies. The execution of this departure was the exclusive responsibility of Joe Biden, and he is the one who has let down thousands of people stranded in Afghanistan who supported the US effort over 2 decades. He's the one who has gifted the Taliban with the territory of the country, the priceless mineral resources beneath its soil, a multi-billion-dollar heroin industry, which will now be the cash cow of terror. And take a look at this from a foreign US military sales officer.
That due to the negligence of this administration, the Taliban now has access to over $85 billion worth of American military equipment. That includes 75,000 vehicles, over 200 airplanes and helicopters, over 600,000 small arms and light weapons. The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the countries in the world. But they don't just have weapons. They also have night vision goggles, body armor, medical supplies, and unfathomable to me and so many others is that the Taliban now has biometric devices, which have the fingerprints, eye scans, and the biographical information of the Afghans who helped us over the last 20 years.
Deeply troubling stuff. So we have literally armed these monsters. It was an incompetent decision with the logistics of getting that many people out in that short time frame. It was a strategic disaster, given that this decision has imperiled not just the people of Afghanistan and destabilized the region, but it has made the whole world a less safe place. It exposes all of us, including on the streets of Britain, to future peril. Which is why Joe Biden's abject performance at the press conference last night was so distressing and also such an insult. He switched on the waterworks, talking about his son, Beau, who served in the military, although he can never quite remember where or with whom. He bowed his head several times, teared up, the voice went wobbly. He gave it the full Gwyneth Paltrow. So even at this time of crisis that affects so many people, this supposedly lovely man, this mask-loving high priest of progressivism, the first woke US president, made it all about himself. How dare he well up and cry when the circumstances around what's happened and all of the deaths, including American personnel, and tragically we hear 3 Brits, including 1 child, are all of his making. The first woke president has also been economic with the truth, saying earlier this week that Western allies were able to safely get to Kabul airport. That was not true. There were blockades, people were searched, attacked, and even shot at by the Taliban. His own military command said as much. His reassurances that most people that needed to get out of Afghanistan now have is also not true. He's full of stats about how many people have left. Well, here's a stat for you, Mr. President. It's been reported that over 120,000 Afghans who officially qualify for a US visa and hoped to escape are still there. Due to the incompetence of US officials, there is a trail of evidence still in the country which will potentially allow the Taliban to identify who these people are and track them down, doubtless to punish, torture, imprison or even kill them. So he's been dishonest, but he's also been arrogant too. Before the Allied withdrawal, he ignored Boris Johnson's many attempts to make contact. Credit to the Prime Minister for trying. For over 36 hours, there was silence from Washington. So much for the special relationship. NATO were also not consulted. The White House owned this, and they own it big time. They are the authors of this horror show. The pervasive themes here are dishonesty, incompetence and arrogance. There seems to be a major empathy gap as well. Because notwithstanding his crocodile tears yesterday, earlier in the week, his deputy, Kamala Harris, was no better, as she laughed and shrugged her shoulders when asked questions about Afghanistan. But don't worry, because Joe Biden's talking tough, folks. He has said that he will find the people responsible for yesterday's bombings. 2 things there. You'll find it difficult to actually get them because they've blown themselves up. And is this the man to find anyone? He can't find his reading glasses, let alone a terror cell. What a shame that the US Constitution doesn't allow for a vote of no confidence, an emergency vote like we have in our Parliament. But no such luck. We've got another 3 years of this. Things are going to go from bad to worse, and it's clear that impeachment proceedings must be considered. Look at this pathetic photo from last night's press conference. Are we supposed to admire that? Am I supposed to be inspired? That's not the body language of humility and sorrow. It's the body language of submission, failure, and defeat, not qualities associated with the great nation that is the United States. In my view, Joe Biden has neither the cognitive health or political and strategic judgment to lead our country, America, of course, a country that we're all invested in being successful, because actually America's president is our president. Our great ally has become a great foe. Such is the disastrous nature of its leadership. Joe Biden is arguably the most dangerous president America has ever had. This is GB News.